I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would someone move item 1.02 to approve tonight's agenda?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Are there any additions or corrections?
We've made one adjustment in 7.12, so you can see that change. We removed one name. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions? Passed. 5-0-0. Next, I need to share with you our evacuation procedure. In the event of an emergency, we have doors at either end of this room. I would ask you to leave through one of those doors and do it in an orderly fashion. Please move out and away from the building. Would you now join us in the pledge for flag? Okay, we're going to turn this way. Okay, you got it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No one signed up for public forum this evening, so I'm going to move on to item 1.06 to approve the minutes from October 25th regular meeting.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 5-0-0. Item 1.07 to approve the minutes from the November 1st budget workshop.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 5-0-0. Are there any questions regarding the upcoming meetings and events under President's Report?
Brian,
Yes.
what time is the event? I believe it's here in the library next Tuesday, the career. Is that here?
Yes. Let me. I can get that to you. I just need to look that up. What's that?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Perfect, thank you.
If there's no other questions or comments, I'm turning this meeting over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Griffin. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone. Happy Election Day. Hopefully across our country, everybody's taking the opportunity to do their civic duty today. It's dependent, our democracy is dependent on participation. And that leads me into our veterans recognition. I see Mr. Cahill this evening here, so he'll be presenting with a group of students this evening. But I want to just express our gratitude to all of our veterans over centuries and decades of what they've done to serve our country and provide the opportunities that we have to be here this evening and the opportunities that we each have in our lives each and every day. And I think we need to always remind ourselves we have to work at keeping a strong democracy. And part of that is all of those who have served our country. Thank you to them, and thank you to their families who also sacrificed as well. And I don't think we always remember one day a year we do that, but we need to do that 365 days a year for the opportunity we can provide it. So with that, I'm going to have Mr. Cahill come forward from Volney Elementary School. Thank you for being here. And thank you for honoring and recognizing our veterans this evening.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Good evening. My name is Bill Gill. I teach out at Volney Elementary. I teach 5th grade. I was asked by the superintendent's office to come and do something for Veterans Day, kind of show what our students are doing. On Thursday, we have 25, maybe more than that now, veterans coming out to our school. They're sponsored by students, and they're given a certificate. They're going to get a packet like you folks got with kids' essays in it. We have guest speakers. Mayor Michaels is going to be there. Donna Kestner is going to be there, and it's been an annual event for quite some time out at Volney School. But the presentation on Thursday is, I'm reading a recognition of a person's service record. So so when I thought about what could we do with our students, I thought about these Flag Day essays that our kids wrote last spring. And I've been reading them for many, many years, going back to Mr. Hendrickson's time. And I thought this year's, that group was the best group I've ever read, in that they're very reflective of, the kids are cognizant of the fact that the flag is a beautiful piece of symbolic cloth. But that's all it really is without our veterans. If we don't have our veterans, the flag doesn't fly, the republic doesn't stand. And that really comes out in our kids' writing. So I thought it would be very fitting for our students to share their essays that are really, they're about the flag, but they're very focused on veterans, serving something bigger than yourself, which doesn't always mean wearing the uniform, about humility, about sacrifice. And I'm always asked whenever I bring kids somewhere, you must have touched those up, Mr. Gill. Mr. Gill didn't touch any of the writing that you've got in front of you. Complete with, there's errors in there, and that's fine. That's not what the assignment's about. The assignment is, my job is to put content in front of them to elicit some type of emotion, right? And try and help, foster that, put it into words for the kids. It's their words, and I cannot be more proud of these kids. There is some debate over who's coming up here first. I don't know if that's been settled. Has it?
All right, so come on.
Hello, my name is Sophie and I am a 6th grade student. I'm going to do my essay piece. What the flag means to me. When we see the flag, we usually don't pay attention to what we're saying, but we should. Because when we see the flag, we should be thinking of all those people that gave up their rights just so we could have ours. And most of those people had families. Those families played a big part in World War II. They had to wait countless days, weeks, months, maybe even years, just so they could see their mom, brother, or maybe even a grandparent. And sometimes those people never came home. When we see the flag, we should appreciate all those soldiers that fought and died in the war. And when we see the flag, don't look around and don't talk to someone next to you, because imagine if you got drafted in the war and had to leave your family for years at a time. When I look at the flag, I see America, I see our country, I see love, hope, loss, and peace. I see new beginnings. The people that we lost in all those wars gave up their freedoms. They couldn't do what they wanted. They couldn't eat when they wanted, they couldn't speak when they wanted, or they couldn't go to church whenever they wanted. They gave up their education so that we could have ours. Maybe one of those soldiers that died could have found a cure for cancer or learned out how to make flying cars, but we'll never know. So when you stand and say the pledge, think of all those soldiers and veterans who could have lived their life just like us. Some people like Carlton W. Bear earned the Medal of Honor for doing courageous deeds and being brave. Most of those people today do not even remember, nor do they remember some of the wars that were fought, like the Korean War or D-Day and others. When we look at the flag, we shouldn't think of the flag. We should be thinking of those soldiers who gave up their freedoms and fought countless days, weeks, and maybe even years. They couldn't go home on Christmas, and they couldn't see their families when they wanted to. They couldn't have the same rights we do today. Sometimes they sadly passed away. It is truly sad to think about it, so we need to remember them today. We need to put flowers in their graves or stand up straight when we say the pledge, or when the national anthem is playing. And remember those veterans who gave up so much so we could have those rights today. The flag stands for so much. It stands for our sacrifice, democracy, opportunity, safety, health, and health. Our country and so much more, our lives, and most importantly, our freedom. Most of the soldiers probably did not get to sleep in, or else had to wear their hair up all day, and they didn't get to do whatever they wanted. We should be proud of who we are, and we should be proud of our country. Many wars were fought just so we could have the rights we have today. Like on June 6, 1944, more than 150,000 brave young soldiers from the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, in a bold strategy to push the Nazis out of Western Europe and turn the tide of the war for good. Our flag is something to be proud of. We should be respectful when we need to show gratitude to all of our soldiers. Did you know that there are more wars than just D-Day? There were also jobs during the war. One of those jobs was writing letters to the family who lost somebody in the war. That sounds like a very sad job. During the war, people hung blue stars in the window. This meant that someone in their family members was serving in the war. When this person died, they would put a gold star over it. Families could have up to 5 stars in their flag. This was one of the ways to means in the flag means freedom is that people don't have the right to think what they want or say what they want. Since we live in America, we have the freedom of expression. Other reasons that the flag means freedom to me is because people fighting in the war don't have the freedom and rights we do. Also, to me the flag means safety. The reason for that is because I know that I'm going home tonight to live in a house with a house to live in, but in some countries people don't know if they will be able to do that. Also, some people take this country for granted and just assume everyone has freedom and rights we do, but some people don't have freedom and rights we have. Another reason the flag represents safety to me is because I know that our country has a strong armed forces that represents us and keeps us safe, and soldiers die every day protecting us and keeping us safe. And they don't get thanked enough for it. Always remember, freedom is not free. Thank you.
My name is Tessa Moore, and I'm in 6th grade in this semester. To me, the flag means freedom. It means freedom to me because there are men and women out there in the world who have given up their freedom just so we can have ours. Many made it out of the war still alive today, but many didn't make it out, and that's why I'm disappointed. They gave up their lives just so we can have our freedom. They made it so our lives were better. The flag also reminds me of how lucky everyone is to have the people who serve in the military. Without them, our lives wouldn't be like how they are today. They sacrificed their lives, their freedom, everything for us. People who had served in the military, some of the bravest people I know, they work so hard and they have so much courage and compassion. Living or gone, it doesn't matter. They work for our freedom, and that's why I care about them. The flag also means home to me. It means home because the United States of America is the reason people served in the military. And this was their home or is their home. They serve because they love this country and they care about this country. They work so very hard for this country and they worked for freedom. As you can tell, freedom is definitely not free. If freedom was free, we would just have it without people telling us to fight for it. Young men and women lost their lives for us and our country. They never got to go home and see their friends and family or even their pets. Instead, they fought for our country, for peace, for hope, for us. It's amazing how many people were willing to risk their lives for others. Those people are the reason we're here today. Those people are the true heroes.
Hi, my name is Mac Moore, and this is what the flag means to me actually. The flag means freedom and sacrifice to me. It means that to me because people gave up their freedom so we can have our freedom and sacrifice their life for ours. When I look at the flag, I think of all the veterans that fought about our life before theirs. Every time I look at the flag, I think about peace and what everybody did for us because they wanted us to be safe and healthy. The flag isn't just cloth. It means a lot to a lot of different people of all ages. The flag to some people means peace, freedom, safety, and sacrifice. We should respect all veterans because even if they came home, maybe their friends, family, and partners didn't come back. Even if freedom is free to us, it isn't always free to the Army. So every once in a while, think about and respect the veterans and the Army for everything they are doing and did for us. When you see a veteran, say thank you for your service. And if one of your grandparents served in some of the wars, talk to them about it. You will learn a lot afterwards. Say thank you for your service. When it's Memorial Day, don't be happy that you have a day of school off. Be grateful that you have freedom and you are safe and healthy and people sacrifice their lives for you. Be thankful for everything the veterans and Army did for you. This is what the flag means to me.
My name is Connor Kuhn, and this is what my flag, this is what the flag means to me essay. What does the flag mean to you? Does it mean freedom, veterans, democracy, or anything more? Well, to me, it means all those things and way more. It means sacrifice, freedom, veterans, democracy, history, compassion, and more. And I really hope that's what it means. It means the same thing to you. It also means all the fallen soldiers and the respect we pay them. Also how we respect how they gave up all their personal freedoms to make sure that we have ours. We should send all of our respect to the veterans and the soldiers that didn't make it. You should also make sure that you are as respectful as you can be during the Pledge of Allegiance. It really shows how you respect all soldiers, dead or alive. I also think that if you don't pay your respects or say the Pledge of Allegiance or just messing around during it, you need to stop. That is extremely disrespectful and something to be ashamed of. You really just have to think about what they did and how much they lost, including family, friends, and freedom. So the next time that you are doing the Pledge of Allegiance, think about all that they gave up. Think about why you're doing this. Don't just sing. Think about it. Think about what they gave up just for you to be singing the song that you're singing right then and there. And remember this, freedom is not free.
My name is Lindsay Shersup, and I am a fifth grade student. This is what the flag means to me. What does the Army flag mean to me? The flag means not to take things for granted. Soldiers risk their lives for our freedom, and sometimes we take our freedom for granted and we don't even know it. The soldiers fought and had to leave their families. They walked away from their loved ones. I would never want to leave my family. Next, the American flag means that America is strong. Our country has fought in several different wars. America is mighty, and with that flag, it calls out the strength that we have. America is great. When I think about the letters on the word flag, F, L, A, and G, I think about what each of those letters represent. F stands for freedom, L stands for love, A stands for America, and G stands for greatness. The colors red, white, and blue on our flag also have meaning. Red is for courage, white is for pure intentions, and blue is for justice and perseverance. I am proud to be here today, sharing this, and I'm glad I'm American. That's what the American flag means to me.
So you folks all have a packet, and I think there's extras around. I could have brought a room full of kids to read essays like that tonight. But when you get to read as many as I do, you start to think, well, maybe we do need a new amendment added to the Constitution. Maybe we should have elementary kids run for public office. I think we'd be better off in some ways. If you don't get to work with kids every day, like I do, people generally underestimate kids, what they're capable of, the level of thought they're capable of, the level of passion that they have. And all these kids and those essays you have in front of you, all speak to how capable these kids are. So proud of them. I want to thank Mr. Palmino and Mrs. Perry for inviting us out tonight. Always happy to come show off our kids. Glad everybody got out to vote today. Thank you very much for having us.
I can't let this go by without speaking for a moment. I appreciate you all came. From deep down in my heart, I am a daughter of a vet, a niece of many vets, an aunt of a vet, a sister of a vet, and friends of many vets. And I know how much it means to them when our young people take a moment to consider the sacrifices that they made in service to our country. They also appreciate when we older people take a moment to appreciate the sacrifices that they made for our country. It's fitting that we stop and think about it for a moment, and so again, my appreciation is so deep. My father probably was typical of most World War II vets. It was drilled into those of us that grew up in that era, how important it was to think about and honor America, to support our veterans and our military service personnel for those sacrifices. They truly were a great generation, and they suffered a lot of difficulties, even here at home, in support of our servicemen. And that's something that I think that we don't often stop to reflect on. In modern war, I've noticed things seem to go along pretty much normal here in America. In the era that my parents went through, they sacrificed. There wasn't sugar. They sacrificed not having all of the necessities of life. Jobs were scarce. And yet they stuck together and persevered, and their greatness paid off for our country. So thank you, boys and girls, for coming. Thank you for thinking about it. Just even thinking about it and putting it down into words how you feel. And I really do appreciate that you understand the importance of pledging the flag. So I wish you well. And Mr. Cahill, thanks for taking the time to have those conversations, very important conversations with your students.
I just wanted to add to that too. So I've had the pleasure over my career to work with a lot of teachers, educators, like Mr. Cahill, I'm sure. And it's their passion that inspires their students, and I'm sure their support from home as well. I know that the social studies teachers I work with that are very passionate make a huge difference and shape the thinking of students, or at least the independent thinking of our students and their ability to grasp the concepts that can be beyond adults sometimes. So thank you, Mr. Cahill, and your colleague.
And I think going off of that, like you said, Mr. Cordone, we can't understate enough. Some of the concepts some of you guys talked about were really deep level concepts that some kids that I've been in college classes with might not be able to grasp. So I was so impressed. And as someone who does a lot of public speaking across the country, I would take any of you along with me because you all did a phenomenal job. So thank you very much, guys.
Since everybody's talking, I'm going to talk too. I'd like to, Mr. Cahill, you have a true gift for sure, giving your students a topic and watching them. Like, I'm hard pressed not to cry right now. The first young lady, Sophie, you got up and I almost lost it. Like, what a gift you have that you're passing on to your students. And I know, like, I could tell by the way that they were speaking and reading that they really thought about it, and they made a connection that I'm very hard pressed to believe that they will ever forget. So that's the most important thing we can teach our kids. Make that connection, make it your own, and pass it on. If somebody's swearing around while they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sure that they're going to tell them what they think about it. You know, so thank you, and thank you, Grace and Connor and Mac and Tessa and Sophie and Kinsley. You all did an amazing job, so thank you very much.
Okay.
It was your turn.
So I just can't express my appreciation for our students this evening and all of you've been doing. And thank you, Mr. Cahill, and all of our teachers who do this work with our kids each and every day. You made this evening special. You made it real. And that's what this is. And that's what education is all about. It's making it real and preparing us for well beyond the walls of these schools. So you really did yourselves proud and our veterans proud this evening. So thank you.
So I'll just tell you, if you have homework or something else to do now, if you want to, we would not, our feelings won't be hurt if you have other obligations to make this evening. And thank you to the parents and grandparents that came out this evening with the students and for taking the time out to join us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
One last round of applause.
Well, that's a great way to kick off our meeting this evening. Our next item on the agenda this evening is our high school English progression. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Geithner and her team.
So I was watching Mrs. Hendrickson and our students were speaking, and she was taking notes for all the CEOs of the readiness points that they were earning. So I'm very excited tonight to bring to you another one of those action items that we talked about when we reviewed the secondary assessment report, and bringing a plan to fruition regarding our English shifts at the secondary level. So you could advance this. Tonight you'll hear from Danielle Florio, our English department chair, and Renee Hendrickson, our director of humanities. Nate Pasulo led this work by beginning the conversation with his site-based team based on recommendations from Danielle and the English department. So we're really happy to kind of showcase the work that has gone into this over the last couple of years, actually. We always begin with our mission and vision, and I don't want to gloss over that because part of what you're going to hear tonight is what it goes into bringing these words to reality and to life around knowledge and skills, lifelong learning, resilience, and hope. So hopefully you'll get to see those threads through the conversation tonight as well. As you know, we've been talking about our strategic coherence plan, the importance of Tier 1 instruction and that solid foundation. This will be one way for us to help our students engage in learning in ELA and really embrace some interest-based coursework and motivation, we hope, for doing well on the assessments as well. Collaborating around those essential standards really went into the development of this plan. So as we've been sharing with you, we're really focused on these two bits of feedback. Our students want their learning to be engaging and relevant, and our families want more specific information about where their children are in progress toward meeting those standards and how well they'll be able to function after high school. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Renee and Danielle to bring you up to speed on kind of where we are with this plan.
Perfect. So currently, our students are required to earn 4 credits in English, and during their senior year is the only opportunity they have for choice. And they have to pass the Regents exam, and we administer that our junior year and in January. We would like to make a shift.
So some of the proposed changes. So this year, the 11th grade cohort will take the test in January, as we've been doing, and they're preparing for that. Additionally, we would also like to have our 10th grade cohort take the ELA Regents in June of this year. This would open up options for a second full cohort to take, and by options we mean choice courses for English 12, which I'll go over those in a moment. Our courses for English 12 right now are semestered, so they're 20-week courses, and this would open up opportunities for our 11th grade students to have a full year of taking advantage of those engaging opportunities and things they might be interested in outside of a typical ELA course. And then the plan going forward, once that 10th grade cohort has taken it, would be for the 23-24 cohort to then have the 10th grade students take it in January. So their year would also be semestered, so then the spring semester of the sophomores year would also open up options for some different engaging things that they could also take for ELA credit.
So we're moving in this direction because we would really like more opportunities for students to hear their voice. What kind of classes do they want to take? This will allow them to have one of their requirements fulfilled early, and then they can focus on other areas that they'd like, and also reduce the amount of exams they'll have to take in June. So those are two of the reasons that we want to make this shift.
And currently, we have options that the seniors can take, but currently we're only running public speaking and horror, just because we have one cohort choosing, and we don't have another cohort plus that could really select these engaging and wonderful opportunities. So it just opens up more innovative concepts, especially with some of the things that we're working on, the CLO civic readiness work we're working on, trying to integrate other content areas. It just opens up a lot more options for different types of things that kids could be taking. And the point about the tests is truly something to consider. It helps kids to meet the other graduation requirements that they need, the ELA Regents being one required one, and it's off their place. It's a relief, it's done, and then they can focus on other things that they need to take care of. Next slide. So here are some of the options that we currently have that have been approved, that we've run in the past. I'll read them off to you. We have horror literature, which has been popular, and I think that if we're opening up to more cohorts, that will be very popular. It's a wonderful genre. Our students are interested in it. Young adult literature, there's always interest, but we haven't had enough to sustain a section of it. Technical writing, we ran that one semester. I think that with more availability of students to take it, that could be a really amazing course that we could even integrate with our tech department and just build it more fully. Mythology was a popular course in the past that we would like to offer again. Good old grammar basics. Not sure how many students would be interested in this, but they might be. Especially as a semester course is something that they could take. That's the cool thing about this. They could take one semester and a different one the next, and really have just different choices, potentially up to 5 different courses that they could take to finish out their high school career. We also have media and arts, which is also known as journalism. Cheyenne Heinen is currently running our media an arts club, and we'd like to build that out more and do more with broadcasting. Coupled with that, we have public speaking and theater. Mr. Scarborough runs that. It's always a popular course. We would love to run our science fiction and fantasy course again. That was always very popular in the past. Mr. Senecal used to teach that class. Children's literature was popular in the past. And then we have a couple that would be full year courses, but AP literature, English is a full year course for 11th or 12th graders. We currently have a mixture of both cohorts taking that class. OCC English is strictly for seniors, and that is also semester, that's been semester. We have some students that will start out taking it 103, say, oh, I got my credits in for 103, I want to take something different in the spring, and I have students that take 103 in the fall and horror in the spring, or they vary out what options they want. It's totally driven by student choice.
Within those options, is there the place for student input, for titles to be read, or, because I'm thinking that the genre may be one thing, but if they had some choice, perhaps, they might be more engaged, more.
Yeah, we're getting there.
You are, okay.
Totally getting there. That's the ultimate goal, for sure. And with this also, at least for the 23-24 school year, we would continue to offer your typical course and just to see what the students' interest is. And everything will be driven by what the students select. We could have 5 classes of horror and 2 classes of whatever. It could be varied depending on what the kids select. So, yes, we'll get to your point.
Do we have enough staff?
Yes, we have staff, because we always have staff enough to cover sections.
Okay.
We would just be, and this is something we've been brainstorming, it would be the divvying up and the scheduling of that, which I did speak to our ACC counseling team. Kelly Ricker's kind of the master on any kind of schedule. She said she loves the student choice, but we would have to figure out the logistics of scheduling. I know that Mr. Murray's kind of working through some different scheduling things anyway, so this all kind of factors into what that would look like. How do we meet the needs of our kids and what they're asking for?
Are the kids currently, because you said there's a mixture of 11th and 12th, are they taking the Regents level 11th grade and the AP all in 1 year, the 2 English courses?
Yep, which is something to point out to them, thank you, actually. Yes, they're taking the AP students, which is, it's one class, but they are currently taking the AP English test in May, and they would be taking the English Regents in January. So they're taking 2 tests, and if they're a senior, then they get it done in their junior year, and the juniors are getting it done in their.
Oh, do they even have to take regular 11th grade English then, or are they just taking the AP and take the Regents?
The AP English is their English credit course. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Next slide. So of course, the questions we justifiably ask, what's the preparation that students would be receiving and how can we ensure that they will be successful? We have been embarking on the work for several years now of identifying essential learning standards and really bringing that alignment, 7 through 10, but even into 6th grade. There's been some great conversations with our 5th and 6th grade teachers also, just to really focus in on those essential skills, preparing students for the most important things that they're going to need, the critical thinking, the problem solving, as you heard tonight, that connection to real life issues and engagement around issues around literacy and life. So I think that work is in a good place and we're going to continue to build it under Renee's leadership, really. She's been spearheading this. And you can speak to the.
I was just saying that just from the district perspective, providing those opportunities for 5-12 to me, it was really cool on Friday to watch and listen to the social studies and English teachers speak to each other with the 5th grade teachers. What is it that's essential for us to focus on? They were already starting to brainstorm common anchor charts, breaking down the argumentative essay and how we can start building those skills in 5th grade. They were in each other's Google classrooms looking at assessments, and it was really fun to watch and building on that for each other.
And going back to the data, using the Regents not as just an exclusive data point for an assessment, but what are we learning about instruction from it? And what are the essential skills that the test is telling us kids need to focus on, not for the 1-day, 3-hour test, but are sustainable over the course of whatever they choose to do with their lives. Thinking, researching, argumentative, writing, justifying an opinion, supporting it with evidence. those were the skills that kept coming out through ELA and social studies. So as long as we're giving kids those skills, that's what's most important. So our communication plan, we've put together a infographic that will go home with our first quarter report card mailing. And it has the ELA shifts on one side and also the seal of civic readiness, which is the other side of the coin. On the other side, which it outlines everything that we've kind of gone over with all of you so that parents have an easy tool to refer to. We're also going to have our teachers start to communicate this more openly with our students, preparing them for the test in June. They're kind of sort of hinting, well, they've been wondering because we did our first quarter unit assessment at 10th grade. They pulled a part 3 text analysis. So the kids started asking questions. Are we going to take the regions? Why they thought that, I don't know. We talked about the regions. So we'll be more explicit with it. I'm supporting my 10th grade team, meeting with them every single week, walking through curriculum, walking through assessments, formative assessments, how we're supporting kids, what the skills we're working on, having a constant pulse on what needs to be addressed and how I can help them get kids through.
We're planning on visiting the site-based meetings at the junior high and the 4 elementary buildings to start sharing this communication at the Title I Family Advisory. We're going to communicate it there and then keep sending this information out through social media and community members. So going back to where your question about where we plan on surveying not only students about classes that they would like to participate in, but also what ones could we create. But then reaching out to our community, what are you seeing that where our students need that would be beneficial for them when they enter the workforce? And the technical writing, but what part of that could we be shifting and focusing on our classes? So that's one of our goals is to get feedback from not only our students, but our community as well. Our junior high English teachers are actually pretty excited. They're like, wait a minute, how could we teach some of these classes? So
Right.
We're definitely sparking some.
They were also already, just our conversations Friday, Jen Malone and the team, they started to kind of reading up some of their assessments that they're planning on doing. And, oh, we could totally make this more rigorous by adding this extra text and just giving them, now that they had the framework of what we're going for, just how can we integrate just a few more things to just challenge them a little bit more and get them ready for what they're going to see at high school level. And then with this, to your questions, the plan would be for going into the spring, we are also planning on, and you can look at the next slide, the chart will kind of help with this, which is really small up there. I think you guys have a better version on here. So when I created the chart, I captured it from the 6th grade cohort through, just to kind of give you a nice 5-year scope of where we're heading with this. But the plan would be, obviously this year with our 10th grade students taking it in June, this spring we would also have our students at the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade levels surveyed to see what courses they might be interested in. We'll present them with the courses that we currently have that are board approved, that we've gotten through already. But what additional things would you all love to see going into the spring of 2024 and beyond? So obviously there's a process that goes into it. We have to garner their input. We have to develop the courses. We have to present it to all of you, the courses we'd like to have offered, and then we'd add them to the options the following year.
Would the students have within the genre, once the course is selected, is it like a book chalk approach where you give them options for different titles to read within the genre, or are they all reading the same exact division, or you don't know yet?
It would depend on the course and what the kids might be interested in. I mean, I've done a lot of research into what other schools offer. There's all kinds of creative stuff. There's things like comic book studies. There's, sports studies. It's infinite. Cinematography studies. So really it depends on, art and literature was one. So if students tell us that they would like to see these courses offered, we would then develop the curriculum around it. And then what goes into that, obviously we'd want to include choice within that, some element of that. But what the curriculum will look like for those courses yet is to be determined. Be grounded in standards, of course, next gen. That's the rollout.
As far as the data goes, what is I know we're kind of basing, trying to go earlier, I know it's something that P-Tech school has done.
Yes.
What are their scores compared to taking it as freshmen, compared to our scores as our juniors? Are they still hitting at basically the same level?
I don't know those numbers off the
That's a great
top of my
question.
head. I know they give it to them at ninth grade, which that was our initial goal, but in talking to Jerry and in talking to other school districts and looking into the regulations, I don't know how P-Tech gets around it necessarily. Maybe Jerry, you know, more.
They do it at the end of the year.
Okay.
So the regulations require a complete course of study before the assessment, so.
And we struggled with that. Initially, I said, well, could we give it to our freshmen in June? The real conflict comes in with the science test. I believe it's living, is given in the afternoon of the English regions. So our students would have to sit for the English regions in the morning and then in the science in the afternoon. I think that's just an unreasonable expectation, especially with extended time and fatigue. It would be setting our kids up for and I guess P-Tech must do it, because they're all given on the same day at the same time. But I don't know the exact numbers, Tim, to answer that question.
Because the big reason I was asking is, I just wouldn't want to, I know I was talking with Brian a little bit before the meeting, kind of that competency for, college career readiness, accountability for the state. Aiming to get like a 75 or 80, and I know you only need the 65 to pass, but I wouldn't want to see sacrificing someone getting a better score if they're doing it in the current method versus the other way. But if it's showing that it's not making a significant impact, then obviously I really think these are some great things that we're talking about.
Okay.
And I was wondering as well, if we did something like this, could we integrate, we talked about the 11th grade year, you possibly would have choice. One semester taking sort of a competency for your English, such as we talked the tech writing or the grammar, and then the other side taking the kind of genre-related piece, so that you were getting kind of both. So we're still working on the more intense writing skills, but we're also getting the liberal humanities piece.
Well, we would still offer and expect that our reading and writing for success, which is our elective intervention, would still be offered. And any students who do not demonstrate proficiency or who are indicating that they could use remediation would be scheduled for that. We would still offer it. Right now we're offering it 9 through 12. It would be based on the needs of the students, obviously.
Okay, so that's even if they pass the regions of the 65?
They have an option for it, but right now, the other amazing thing that we're kind of taking advantage of, to the advantage of our kids, is the fact that we have the LOCAS exemption through August of 2022. So that's a 50 in order to earn credit for regions for graduation. So that will mean that our entire junior cohort and now our sophomore cohort in June will be able to take advantage of that opportunity. And we also have to take into consideration the reality that 60% of our seniors last year did not go to college. They chose to go into trades, other fields. So we have to appeal to all of our population and the diversity that we do have here. Not every student is necessarily going to want to go to college or care about earning an 80 plus on a Regents exam. That doesn't mean that we don't push them and hold the standard high, but I feel like it's not doing all of our students justice to expect them to constantly have to sit for a test because they didn't get an 80 or proficiency range is a 79 to 84. It's just taking the focus off of learning and on a number that I don't think is necessarily beneficial for all.
And I think that's the big thing. If we're getting the learning, and again, like you said, it's an exam. If they're proficient and they get 65 on the exam, those are two different things. And I think if we're getting to that proficiency level, then again, I think we're accomplishing what we have to do as a school district for our kids.
That's what I believe in. And they always have the option.
I say they're going to have lots of opportunities to retake it, but I think what we are focusing on is those essential skills that we're trying to embed in multiple classes, not just English. The social studies department was, let me see what are the expectations for the English regions. we're going to start embedding those in our expectations when we're getting writing assignments. So it's not one and done, we're trying to thread that in through multiple classes, so they're constantly working on that skill set.
Yeah, and one thing I will add to that is that we made a commitment as we've worked through this, and especially in our most recent conversations, collaboratively, that the rigor will be maintained, right? We're going to continue to embed the writing and the reading, and all of the standards that are so critically important to success beyond a course. That will be the common thread through the development of these opportunities. It's not something where you're going to take an elective that's less rigorous. You're going to take an elective that appeals to your interest and stretches you in your thinking and in your skill development as part of this initiative.
I'm excited.
Good.
This is familiar. I did this back in the olden days. I had innovative English teachers, and we actually were broken up into 10 or 20-week segments, and we made choices. And what I noticed were my fellow students that weren't strong in English started developing a greater interest in some English skills that they otherwise wouldn't have, because they struggled so much in the traditional English class setting. And that's what I
That's what
noticed.
we're going for.
English was my, jam, so it was neat for me to see my peers start to enjoy parts of English that they just, because they just felt like they couldn't do it or it didn't make sense. And the rigor was there. I will say that I believe I wrote as much in those classes as I wrote in traditional setting classes. So I find this very exciting. I long for many, many years that maybe that can happen for students here, and you can verify that with my email, because I used to talk to them about it. When students have choice and some more control, I think that they work even harder when they feel empowered that they've chosen to do this. So kudos to you for all. I know it's a lot of work to make this happen. So thank you for that. I really appreciate what I think is going to be very exciting for our kids.
I just have one question. Thank you. This is really great. I love I love everything that, Robin, that you said it for sure. And what I also love is, Danielle, when you were saying, or Renee, one of you were saying that you went to the middle school and the teachers are so excited about that professionally we're having teachers who are going to be refreshed. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, and it puts that spark back into teaching. If you've been doing it for a while, you know, something new, and I think that's really going to trickle down to the students as well. But you've done a lot of research, as you were saying. Do we have any other districts around here that are implementing
Well, it's
this?
funny, because I go to Literacy Network out at City with Carrie Wallen, and we've had Mexico Central Square, Oswego, Hannibal, Phoenix, Altmar Parish have been there, and I had brought this up as something that we were contemplating, and they were just, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. So I think it's going to spark some innovation in our county, which I think is trending in a positive direction. I think it's in alignment with really where the state's heading too. There's opportunities to integrate other contents, which is really where we see the trend going. And if we don't create the structure to sustain that, we're never going to get out of these ruts of the way we've always done things. So this is kind of opening the door for some different innovative things. So we can be the trendsetters.
Okay, so nobody around here
That is doing it, that I know, except for P-Tech, which is their own unique thing, but not.
And I agree, like, you do things the way it's always been done, you're always gonna stay the same. You're never gonna achieve anything greater, so, yeah, I agree, okay.
I also think from the college career readiness, I think this teaches kids to what they'll actually experience. You know, when they're flooded with, you get a choice, and you actually get to pick and say, you know, wait, I can choose between this class and this class and this class. I don't have to take this class and have a better idea, but, you know, I'll still graduate going this path. And so I think there are things implicitly in this that are also really, you know, cool to be letting your kids experience before they go on.
For sure. And the sad thing that has been, which I'm hoping this will remedy, is I haven't had like I'm only opening it up to the 12th graders, and I had 8 students interested in young adult lit who were really wanting to take that course, and I couldn't run it because I didn't have enough students to support the course. Hopefully now, if I have another cohort plus a half a semester, I'll have enough kids to run the course and give those kids what they had asked for and wanted to take. So that's the goal.
I agree. I feel, in a sense, heard from our last meeting when we, you know, kind of went over some of our ELA scores, and I think that, you guys, this is great, and I agree, Robin, if kids are have the choice of the class, then they will do better because they take it more seriously.
I lived it. I can attest to that. I can tell you a true story. One classmate returned every year for several years after his graduation. He couldn't pass English. He wanted his diploma. He didn't get a diploma until they implemented English in this format, and he got his diploma with my class. And it took him like 3 extra years of trying just for English.
Yeah.
So the format changed, and a lot of it, what we noticed and what everyone noticed, was he became less anxious when he walked into an English class. And that really resolved his issue. But he worked just as hard. I mean, it wasn't easy for him. He was challenged. But he was up to the challenge because he felt like, oh, I can do this.
Right. We still don't want to lose sight that our kids need to be proficient and whatever.
That's right.
And I really like the calendar with the date, because that really outlines it for parents to see, okay, by this time. And I just think that sometimes, you know, if we don't have that in front of us, we don't quite understand. You know, if my kid comes home and is trying to explain that to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, so that was really good, and I think that will be good for the parents, and I'm excited about it as well. I mean, it's,
Yeah, our grammar was all corrected. It didn't matter what we took. You know, you wrote, the writing was required at certain steps, whatever we took, and grammar, you were held accountable for your grammar, for your sentence structure. So we were doing all the traditional stuff just in a very different format, and it didn't feel like the teacher standing up front saying, okay, is this a participle, is it, you know, we just got it differently.
and the 20-week thing is nice too. You know, just to.
Well, there's an end in sight, so if they're not liking it, it's not, it doesn't seem like forever when you're a kid, it seems like forever.
Right.
And I think offering student choice is key, and it motivates them, and they're more invested.
I
So,
do, I think
yeah.
so.
Absolutely.
And it's differentiated learning at its finest,
Yes.
really is.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah, so it's.
You know what it did, partly? Every day at school was something to look forward to because it was something different all the time. There were different things happening. So I could fool myself into if I was feeling like, oh, you know, well, you know, I got this going on, get up and go and be excited.
Yeah, I'm excited and I'm not even taking the class.
Yeah.
The idea of it is
You
great.
could feel that energy last Friday when the teachers were talking and processing through and sharing ideas.
Oh, I'm sure once they get going, you're gonna do, it's gonna be phenomenal.
So- That excitement is contagious. I do want to thank Danielle and Renee for their leadership on this and the collaboration of the departments. Again, this has been a work in progress for a while now, a few years. This concept has been kind of evolving and developing as we've worked through all of the various logistics of this, plus what students need and how to get them what they need. But it has sparked some innovation and creativity, so please don't be surprised when we come back to you with additional ideas similar to this in other disciplines, because there's a lot of buzz and a lot of positive energy around how do we make the experience responsive to the needs of the students who are currently with us and not necessarily the ones who were here with us in 1950. So, yes.
I know one of the things we're working on is creating that system where like we say where we want our kids to be at like once they are done with K, 1, 2, so parents can see and help them achieve the goals and what they should be at by each level.
Yes.
Will we be integrating this in as well? Still, like this is where we want to like make these goals our goals for 11, but you can do it through any of these. Is that kind of what we're looking at?
Right, so we're looking at what is the end point and the outcome, right? And what are the steps, the interim steps at each point in progression, whether it's grade level, semester, school building, configuration, grade level band. So those are, part of the work that is being done and has been done is around that vertical alignment. And Friday afternoon was a great example. Certainly not the first time that's occurred, but it was a very energized afternoon for that reason, because our 5th through 12th grade teachers were together looking at this and learning from each other. And we had our elementary curriculum council meeting this morning, and one of the teachers said, we were teaching each other how to teach math. It was the math group. And she said, I was learning from my high school colleagues, but then they said to me, well, how do you teach this concept? And we got into tape diagrams and all kinds of exciting conversations, learning from one another, and that really is going to be powerful and the key to the changes that we need to make.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out with questions.
Great presentation, thank you. So as you can see, we continue on our path to really providing a really broad experience for our kids, with lots of choice and opportunity, engagement. There's a lot of pieces to getting our kids prepared for the world well beyond our walls. So thank you. The final item on the superintendent's report this evening is the draft timeline for the annual budget vote and Board of Election calendar for the 23-24 budget. It's always awkward when we're talking, so we're actually preparing the 23-24 budget in 22-23. So we put that out. So this is your first draft. It begins with this evening's meeting. We always seem to start with this meeting in November. We come back at our next meeting in a couple of weeks just to say, what kind of feedback do you have, things like that. You can see that we have incorporated budget workshops, other kinds of things. We finalized the budget calendar for December 13th. We'll move forward into January 10th. And then really tentative, we start to talk about finalizing our budget parameters in January. We had a great start the other night, so thank you very much. That budget workshop was a great kickoff to the season, actually. We'll move through. You start to see that we've got tentative board workshop or FCSD stakeholder budget committee. So that's the way we did this last year. We did them the same way. And last year, I think we had 2 or 3 budget committees. We had 1 or 2 budget workshops. We started with one earlier this year, last week. So you can go through, I'm not going to read all through these. You can see the budget presentation from Parent University. We start to drop down into March and April. Obviously, we hope for a presentation of the governor's budget in January. Generally, they have to have that done by the 21st of January. We're supposed to have it out in our hands. They've been very much on time the last couple of years. That'll give us an idea. Are the numbers projected that we anticipate? Are they actually in that budget? So we hope that comes to fruition. And then obviously we always hope April 1st. They have an on-time budget, so we'll know the actual numbers. And then we make our final tightening up our budget presentations, things like that. And we roll out a budget in May for our community to be able to vote on and give us feedback, and hopefully it'll be a budget that supports all of the needs of our kids. So that's our goal. The other piece that we're also looking at the same time is we're looking at the possibility of a capital project opportunity. So I know we're working closely with King & King, looking at our debt service and things like that, and really making sure that the timing is right. So we are looking at that as a possibility as well. More to follow in the coming weeks as we get more information from King & King.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
On April 26th, you have a listing of regular board meeting, tentative budget adoption, adopt school goal. I don't know what that means.
It's a typo.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to go back to last year's and check that out. I just changed it.
So one of the things I wondered about with that item was that there was a resolution that did make it through the business meeting for NISBA, and I don't know if there would be a change for this year or it would be in the future, because they just don't know how quickly that'll advocate and work.
Okay.
But that resolution was number 17, and it was to give flexibility for that date to the, I believe it was the board president to set the date between the 16th of April and the end. So you wouldn't have to have a fixed date. there would be flexibility.
I wouldn't think it would affect this one because don't they have to have everything done by April, well, their budget.
It would go through their budget,
Right, their budget process has to be done by April.
So
1.
if the deadline is for us to do the timeline first, then probably not, but I just wonder if we can check on that, does it have to be, do we know that it will be on the 26th, or would it be somewhere between the 16th and the 30th? It's resolution 17 if you wanted to see the language.
Yeah, we can follow up, because right now, the letter we got was April 26th.
Right,
was
right
the
now,
city
it's
budget.
still the traditional.
Yep, but
And
we
that's
can
why I'm
check on
thinking
that.
it won't change until the
Okay.
next year, because of their timeline.
And the other question I had was just if there was thought with the timeline for the Capitol Conference this year with NSBA. It is a virtual conference the weekend before the 15th of February, but the 15th of February is Lobby Day.
It's a Wednesday.
And that's a Wednesday.
Right,
So, and that would be in Albany.
right.
And we have a regular meeting on the 14th. So that's why I just wondered about that.
We'll get that information. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions or thoughts, we really mirrored this after last year's calendar, which was quite successful. And then we'll start soon after we draft or ratify the calendar for this year, accept it, move forward with it, then we will put together the budget committee. Because I think that's been a really great stakeholder committee the last couple of years. So thank you to the board who actually pushed and made sure that we got that back on. It's something we've gotten away from a little bit.
Yes, you ran with it.
Well, I got the ball and I thought it was a great idea, so I think it's been a very good committee for us, and I think it provides us very valuable feedback.
Well, if it helps you, that's the whole point.
Yep. So if there aren't any other questions, that's the conclusion of the superintendent's report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4.01, to accept our financial reports, warrants 15 through 17.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstention? Passed 5-0-0. Item 4.02, accept budget transfers.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. These are health code budget codes,
Oh, yes.
health insurance, the 96, where are they moving?
So, yeah, so we over budgeted in those areas, so we're moving funds out of that into
Okay.
different areas. We can transfer that.
And did it ask for a cheat sheet on budget codes?
Yes.
Because I'm hard pressed to remember all of them.
Yeah.
We'll
Okay.
provide that. for
And then
you.
they're just going
Sure.
into salary codes, right? Okay.
Any other questions? Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 5-0-0. Item 4.03, accept no bid award for external auditor.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Could you just go into a little bit what this exactly means?
Dr.
Sure,
Weezy?
I can. So when we put out the RFP for a bid, we only received one response. And really in the nature of competitiveness, we wanted to rebid that if possible.
Who was the one to respond?
Oh, I don't have it with me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can
What-
get that for you, yeah.
So we're talking external auditor, we're talking Mango Metzger Bar.
Yes.
Right?
Correct, that's right.
And there's ample time to rebid it, so we're in good place. We're in a good place.
Correct.
Did they, so you don't think they responded?
They did not, but they intended to.
Okay,
So, yeah,
all right,
correct.
okay.
So did we post an RFP for our internal and external?
We did, that's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Because and
Right.
this one gets very confusing,
It does,
internal is
yes.
not doing the work anymore.
Correct.
This was their last year, so what we decided to do was bid both.
Correct.
And we're looking at different firms that can then put in, and then we can look at how we're gonna
That's correct.
proceed. So, and we only have one, that's why we're.
That's right.
doing this. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask to clarify?
There.
Okay. So we are going to rebid the external auditor.
That's correct.
We have not bid for internal yet?
We
or
have. We haven't reviewed the response yet.
Okay,
We just-
all right.
Correct, so we're doing, we're looking at the
Right,
whole
right.
audit process.
Yep,
So-
Right, we just received the responses and haven't reviewed them. so
gotcha,
we'll
yeah.
make
No,
those
I
amendments. Right.
just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I was.
Are you all set, Mr. Connors? Your
I'm all
question?
good, thank you.
Good. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 500. Item 5.01, approves the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 500. Item 5.02, to approve the textbooks for the music class.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Very nice textbooks. I did go in and review them, and actually, Mr. Bovino helped answer a couple of questions. You're pretty smart about the music.
Because I asked this guy.
Well, I liked it.
I know how to get the
Shared.
answers.
It's
Yeah.
excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, and abstentions? Passed 500. Item 5.03, to approve the contract with the City of Fulton Special Patrol Officer / School Resource Officer.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 500. We appreciate that relationship that the district has with the City of Fulton and its police department. Item 6.01, approve policies. We have policy 1134.0, broadcasting and recording of board meetings. We have policy 1210.0, citizens advisory committees. Policy 1220.0, relations with community and business organizations. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 500.
Mrs. Griffin, we need a move and a
Nobody.
second.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Second.
Third, fourth.
I just read mine. I appreciate that. Thank you for your help. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? Passed 500. Would you like to batch items 7.01 through 7.12, all of our personnel?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on any of these items? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 500. Mrs. Capilardo, would you like to start us off this evening?
Sure. First, thank you to Mr. Palvino for inviting Mr. Kittle and his students. I think that was awesome. You guys tried to put me on the spot, but I'm clearly not as well spoken as our sixth graders. So I was very impressed. Well written, well spoken, and it was a really good opportunity for us to have. I just, like I said, I feel heard on our ELA discussion from, a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad that we're moving in the direction that we're moving in. And that's really all.
Okay. Molly, how about you?
Okay. Well, first I want to say that I thought it was really great hearing all the student speakers, and I loved hearing their poems. I think I remember doing one of those in 7th or 8th grade, so it was really great hearing all of them speak. And then I also thought for the possible new English courses, I'm really excited. For me, I wanted to take some of those courses, and I had heard that we didn't have enough people for some of them, so I'm really glad that other students will be able to in the future. And I also think just in general, it's great for any sort of students that want to kind of venture out into literature and realizing that it's not just about essays and reading books, that there are other fields that you could go into regarding literature. And I think it's just a great way to explore. Besides that, I think that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Mayville?
Thank you again to Mr. Cahill and all the students. That was such a highlight. I'm very excited for the ELA, the English, the progression that you guys are taking, and just the choice that the students are going to have and the ownership that they're going to feel for taking on their education and exploring their interests and stuff. I just think it's amazing, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I was very excited about all the financials.
Yes. Mr. Cordone.
Yeah, thank you. So the same, just to echo the comments made about our students who visit us this evening, it's always a pleasure to have them part of our meeting. And I think it's better to hear them read their writing than to look at their ELA score sometimes. So numbers, you know what I mean, the actual evidence of their ability is much more appreciated than sometimes numbers have their place. But so anyway, I wanted to also say I was grateful to learn with my colleagues at convention. I really enjoyed the Small Cities Breakfast and the speaker there, and the speaker that followed for NISBA that opened. And the sessions I attended on the future of electric buses and collective bargaining. So anyway, it was time well spent. Oh, the last thing was, the Oswego County School Board's Board of Directors met right before convention. We met, it was a busy week, but we talked about the plan for this year, and we're not going to do anything tremendously heavy. But one of the conversation really was around mentoring, looking for opportunities to welcome people, new board members, to their service as a county association, but also to acclimate them in the work of meeting with our legislators to advocate on our behalf. Because we know that we don't really lobby because we're also elected officials. So we're kind of on par. We serve a segment of their constituency, but our job is to advocate. So the thought was, and I think more communication will come directly to the board president from
I'll share.
John Shalmadine is our board, or our Oswego County School Board president this time, and he will convey that. But we're looking at creating a situation where perhaps those that are interested in that work, learning about it, can do it in a non-threatening way. And you could, buddy up with somebody either on your board that's done it or from another board if there's nobody available. And that would be kind of serve as a resource.
On this board, I think, David, it's you and I.
Yes. And we might also be asked to help other boards that don't have anyone that's done that work yet. So that was kind of the thing.
It's hard to imagine, isn't it?
It
There
is.
was a time when it was.
It is, but it's one of those skill sets that you kind of learn over time, and it comes naturally. It comes natural when you can tell your district's story.
Yes.
So.
And it also gets us listened to. You get better response when you learn to share your district story.
So more to come on that.
Thank you for that, David.
Yep.
Mr. Connors.
A lot of different things that are going through my head right now. First, I'd just like to start off with the easy one and just congratulate the kids again tonight for speaking. They all did a phenomenal job. I know when I came into this, I was not expecting, how eloquent they would be as speakers, how great their writing would be. So I just was thoroughly impressed, and I want those kids to really know what a great job they did. I think another group I'd like to do a shout out for is our student athletes as our fall sports seasons come to an end. I know we've had some tremendous wins, some teams doing really well, and so I just want to give a shout out to them because that is a big commitment to be able to keep up with school and sports, and it's great to see that we're doing that and we're doing it on a competitive level in our district. Another thing, I really like the idea with the English, as we said, we're trailblazing compared to other schools. And I like being the one up front and trying the things out, even if we don't have it fully figured out, because we really think we can make it different in our students' lives if we are the first ones to do it. So again, shout out for all the work there. And then I'd just like to thank, Mrs. Geithner, with the communication. You said everyone meeting on Friday to really, from the different grade levels getting together and facilitating that work of all people from, 5 through 12. And really working on putting together that framework so we know who's doing what, but also the learning from one another. So I just think a lot of great things that were shared and going on. So congratulations and great job all around. Let's keep it up.
Again, I appreciate the athletes, the students that came tonight, Mr. Cahill and other staff for their work. really appreciate all the veterans of our school, all veterans, but in particular our school community. I'm grateful that how they support our community and continued their service by supporting the community after their service. I heard a lot of good things about the superintendent's day and a half.
Yeah.
It was gratifying to see the excitement of teachers and other staff members that participated in different opportunities. And I really liked what I kept hearing is, you know, that they get to select, they had some choice. And just like kids, choice makes things a lot more pleasant when you have an opportunity to say, I'm more interested in doing this versus this. So thank you for that, and everyone that, Mrs. Geithner and your team that put that all together. I know a lot of work was into superintendent's days. Dr. Lisi, I know you had a hand in some of the coursework this time. And Mr. Polino for leading everyone to make that come to fruition. I want to thank Mrs. Perry. She does a lot and did some extra work for us for Superintendent's Day, and thank you for all of that. I'm not sure why that particular laugh, but okay. But she really is always there supporting our professional staff to make sure that things happen just the way everyone envisions. I don't have anything else, so there's a second public forum, but we have no one in the public here. So I'm going to move on to our adjournment, item 9.01. Would someone make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Move it.
Second. Any discussions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions? Passed 5-0-0. Thank you to those that are watching. We appreciate you taking the time out to learn more about what's going on in the district. And sadly, everyone that was here left, but we appreciate that they came. Good.